going on, guys? Bring your friends here, Countless, whatever you want to call me. Today I have come to bring you probably one of the craziest things I never thought I would end up making in Guild Wars 2, but it is a Chronomancer bunker build, and this has been hugely successful, and I figured I'd share it with all of you and explain the build in detail, and then afterwards show you a clip of what it can do. So let's just get straight through it. So we'll talk about all of this later. Well, you're running sword, shield, staff, double energy, sigil water on the sword pistol, because obviously you're going to be in that more than staff, and with sigil renewal and energy on the staff as well. When it comes to the runes, I would recommend either two rune sets. One, superior rune of durability, and the reason why I say this is because it gives out decent protection and regen for your team, which is supported by boon duration. So obviously it says 3 seconds on there, but it should be more than that. Also, it should be noted that boon duration and condition duration is bugged in Guild Wars 2 at the moment, so obviously if you run with Rune of Durability, you only get what it says to you. And running with Minstrels Amulet, Toughness, Vitality, Healing Power, and Concentration, which is boon duration, if for those of you who don't know that yet. So going into the build, you're running Chaos, Inspiration, and Chronomancer, and I'm just going to go over everything, including the passives. Also, should be noted that if you're not running durability, the only other rune set that I would recommend and have used and tried out that has worked is, I think, the Runes of Dwanya. And the reason I say Runes of Dwanya is because you get a shit ton of regeneration and regeneration duration, and obviously that makes a lot of sense when only because of Illusionary Membrane. The more regen you have, the more protection uptime you have, which is pretty huge, especially since Prod is pretty essential for living. So yeah, but I'm going to stick with Rune of Durability just because a lot of boon duration overall, 62.3%, so pretty good to have. So obviously Metaphysical Rejuvenation, you get a 16-second with, and this is obviously a long regen because of the boon duration you're getting from Minstrels and the Rune of Durability. You're getting 5% plus another 15% just from the rune set, and 560, which is 56% duration from Minstrels. So moving on, you have Illusionary Defense. Take reduced damage for each illusion you have in the world. Obviously that's your only choice because getting something like Chaos Storm fall damage is retarded, and Master Manipulation, you don't have any manipulation skills, so Illusionary Defense by default. Obviously Illusionary Membrane is pretty self-explanatory. Gain protection when you gain regen. Obviously you're going to get regen from this passive and from Distortion. So yeah. Moving on, Chaotic Dampening. Chaos Armor grants protection, staff, and trident skills recharge faster while you have Chaos Armor. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have Chaos Armor, you gain protection, and obviously you can just do the same thing through phase retreating through your Chaos Storm. Moving on, Chaotic Persistence. Ongoing boon and condition duration increase for every boon on you. So the first thing that comes to mind with this is you definitely want something like a Revenant on your team, because the amount of boons they're giving you is only, it's synergetic both ways. So having somebody that can feed you that as well is obviously good to have. Bountiful Disillusionment. Actually, I should say that Chaotic Transference, you don't really need condition damage, so not really a trait worth having. And Mirror of Anguish. Definitely, this you can't control, and it's very passive and it's a very scrubby trait. Obviously, you want the 8 seconds of protection, which is crazy, especially with Minstrels and the Amulet of Durability adding on, which makes it 8 seconds. So extremely good to have. I would take this any day over just a 60-second stun or, you know, disable reflect. Moving on, Bountiful Disillusionment. When you shatter, you gain stability. You and nearby allies gain boons on which shatter was used. So you got Might, Vigor, Fury, Regen, and Resistance on the Chronomancer, which is fucking crazy. And the most important thing is you have Stab So the reason why you may look at the fucking utilities like you're a moron, why would you do that? Well, one, you have stab on every time you shatter, so when it comes to Signet of Illusions, not only are you giving yourself stability and, Might, Vigor, Fury, Regen, and Resistance, but it also is very synergetic with Restorative Illusions. So when it comes to any Condi based team or any Condi cleave, that is your answer. It's basically Restorative Illusions and Signet of Illusions. Like, it's just, what can they do? It's just boom, 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 Condi clear, Condi clear, Condi clear, Condi clear. Oh, look at that. You know? It's like you have Condi clear for days. So that's pretty much a no-brainer. Not to mention that with all that stab, it's going to be hard for you to be controlled in any way with Signet of Illusions. So moving on to Inspiration. You have Power Cleanse, remove conditions, or cast Power Cleanse when you use a healing skill. Obviously, Signet of the Ether, and I will get into Signet of the Ether, why I've chosen this later on in the video. So obviously good to have. Medic's Feedback is for team support. Obviously you guys know this. Create a feedback bubble when reviving an ally. Your revival speed is increased. So, obviously you're not running mantras, and persisting images, it's not really related to a bunker build, so Medic's Feedback is the best option. Inspired Distortion. Grant distortion to nearby allies whenever you give yourself distortion. This is extremely well with this build because even though you don't have much distortion, so say for example if your teammate goes down, not only can you negate most of the damage, so say if your teammate goes down, you can open up with Blur, your entire team is protected, and once Blur goes out you can simply just distortion your entire team, and it's like just negating all cleave. It's just great synergy with Wall of Precog. So definitely a good passive. I'm not taking focus, so Warden's Feedback is irrelevant, and Protective Phantasm's not even worth it. There are other things that can do that better. Tempest, so you don't even need Protected Phantasm's not even worth it. The heal is good. The Condi Clear is good. Restorative Illusions without question. Healing Prism. When healing yourself, nearby allies are also healed. Gain healing power for each illusion you control. So pretty self-explanatory. Whenever you heal your buddies. Moving on, Phantasmal Defender. Now this is where it gets good. Summon an illusion that gives illusion of defense to nearby allies when it attacks. Half of incoming damage is transferred to Illusionary Defender. Now, when I was testing this shit out, it was a really big question whether or not I wanted to stick with Defender or Inspiration or even Temporal Enchanter, because Temporal Enchanter works really well with Medic's Feedback, because the feedback is obviously glamour, very synergetic, and with Illusionary Inspiration, works out quite well as well. And lots of regen, lots of boons sharing to your allies every 30 seconds, but obviously you can reduce the time with Alacrity, so that can be argued. But the thing with Defender, which a lot of people might not know about, is that one, it is one of the reasons why I have chosen Chrono Phantasma, and here's why. Because when you, say if you're a bunker and you have Phantasmal Defender, right? When you shatter, the illusion of defense still stays after your first shatter. So say if you are getting attacked and you're like, well fuck, I have a lot of Condis on me, but I don't want to shatter and get rid of my defense, because not only is it helping negate damage, but it's helping my teammates as well. But if you're getting Condi bombed, there's really no other choice but to shatter. So Chrono Phantasma is the solution to that. So if you have max clones, you can still shatter and gain the illusion of defense buff for another shatter, which prolongs the the Phantasm in general. So that's one huge aspect to that. Another huge aspect is Signet of the Ether. So when you heal, obviously since it's a phantasm, it refreshes. So if you were to heal and block again, the Phantasmal Defender would be reset and you would get it back. Like, that is fucking huge. I don't know how many people have known about that, but I haven't really fucking messed with a bunker build until now, but that's crazy good with Signet of the Ether. Like I've never ran Phantasmal Defender with Signet Ether before, but that is so synergetic. Not to mention the craziest thing, Signet of the Ether is fucking Echo of Memory. This is huge. You have quad block, so if you fucking block once, and if they hit you, you block again. But if you're still getting Connie bomb, or if you're still getting bursted, Signet of the Ether, you can do it all over again. So 4 fucking blocks with that. That is huge. Signet of the Ether is a staple for this build. Without it, you lose so much block, which is a lot of defense, and you lose a lot of, like, this is pretty much the only reason why this build is so good, is because it's like a chain reaction of healing, defense, and block that you get with Signet of the Ether. Because not only do you have a Phantasm reset, which affects Phantasmal Defender, but you have quad block, which procs this, and Chronophantasma feeds into it, because you can still remove conditions and keep the debuff from Illusion of Defense. That is just the craziest thing about this build, and it's just so good. And moving on to Chronomancer, you got Time Splitter, obviously, gain access to Continuum Split, which 8-second resistance with the boon duration, which is absolutely nuts. And obviously you can do so much shit with that, which I really don't need to explain to you guys about that. I mean, you can have, essentially you have Time Warp on a 90-second cooldown. And if you're wondering why I chose All Is Well, It Ends Well, and not running the Gravity Well, is because the Gravity Well obviously does a lot of damage, but when you're bunker, it's just like a control effect, so it's not really worth it in my opinion. So I would rather choose Time Warp and have more utility for stomps and reses when I need it, rather than throwing a Gravity Well down and, oh, well, my enemy has stability, so that gets no value, so that's not even worth it. So it is debatable whether or not you want delayed reactions upon the slow, but for me personally, this is probably the only one that is debatable in this build, would be the Alacrity when the well ends, because I only run one well. And then moving on, Flow of Time, gain Alacrity each illusion you shatter. Again, this works really well with my build because I run Signet of Illusions, so more shatters means more Alacrity, obviously. Like, oh, Alacrity, more Alacrity, so pretty huge. Illusionary Reversion, you could go improved Alacrity. I guess this would be the only other debatable one as well on the list. I enjoy Reversion just because it means more condition clear for me and more healing, so that's the reason why I chose Reversion. It's for that aspect alone, for the most part. Yeah, I mean, Alacrity is nice, but there will be times where you have Alacrity and you won't have access to more clones to get rid of more conditions and get more healing at the same time. Even though Alacrity is a great skill, but it's not good all around when it comes to what you're trying to do with this build. Time marches on, you move 25% faster. The duration of incoming movement and pairing conditions is reduced by 25%. Pretty self-explanatory. Very good for a bunker roll. And last but not least, Chronophantasma. I already explained why I chose Chronophantasma, which is basically because of Phantasmal Defender, and it works well with Signet of the Ether and Echo of Memory. You could go Seize the Moment on Quickness on Shatter, but I wouldn't recommend going Seize the Moment on a build like this unless you were going Illusionary Inspiration. And the reason I say that is because you already have decent quickness through Tides of Time. So if somebody's already in the down state and you want to get a quick stomp or whatever, just save it before they go down and just go for the stomp then. Just time your shit and you'll get good value out of it. And then Lost Time, it's not really for a bunker build, especially since I don't have no crit. But yeah, I mean, this build works wonders. Works so well. I can't stress that enough. And I'll show you the video after this is over, and I'll let you know, because I mean, the match I was in, it was against notable players, and I guess I'll just play the whole match, and I'll put annotations uh, before and after and all that good jazz. But let me know what you guys think. I definitely think this is going to be meta. It's a crazy build. The game I show is against notable opponents like Muffins and Zeus, and I believe K-Pud was in there as well. So definitely not against nobodies that don't know how to play the game. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the video. I'm Callus, bring your friends. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or on the forums or whatever I post this video to. And just one more thing I should note. Obviously, I've only played this since the expansion came out, so I'm not the best bunker yet. Like, I only died one time in the game that I'm about to show you, and the only reason why I died is because I made a misrotation, I believe, when I was in a 1v3, and then a Mesmer came in and pretty much did nothing. But I could have actually done better, so I still have room to improve. But nevertheless, it is still a super good build, and definitely check it out and let me know what you guys think. And I'm out of here. Adios.